They will tell you the battle is out there, in the economy, in politics, in your competitors, your critics, your circumstances. But the real battle, is in your mind. Because before the world was ever shaped by hands, it was imagined by minds. And the man who masters his own mind masters the world that follows. Every invention, every empire, every revolution started in silence. Inside the theater of thought, Edison didn't light the world because of wires, or glass, or copper. He did it because his mind refused to accept darkness. Carnegie didn't build an empire because he was lucky. He built it because he trained his mind to think in iron, while the world thought in rust. This is not about positive thinking. This is not about empty affirmations. This is about domination of the inner kingdom. Because if you don't take control of your mind, something else will. And that is the most dangerous form of slavery. See, most people are not living. They are reacting, bouncing from emotion to emotion like a puppet on strings, controlled by news headlines, opinions, distractions, fears, failures. They live in mental chaos. But there is a different path, a higher path, one walked by every great soul in history, from Lincoln to Mandela, from Jobs to Jordan, a path of internal command, where discipline over thoughts becomes freedom in life. Because here is the truth: every thought you allow is a seed with the power to grow into action, and action into habit, and habit into destiny. You want to change your life? Start with the garden of your mind. Pull the weeds of doubt. Burn the lies you've inherited, and plant vision, belief, and purpose. But understand this: it's not enough to think good thoughts. You must guard your mind like a fortress, because the world will try to storm the gates. It will whisper doubt when you try to rise. It will mock your ambition when you speak your dream. It will flood your attention with fear, comparison, distraction, all to pull your power away. But you are not here to be ruled. You are here to rule. And that begins not with muscle, not with money, but with mental sovereignty. That is the secret the powerful have always known, that the mind, once trained, becomes a weapon, not against people, but against limitation. When you forge belief, when you sharpen focus, when you discipline thought, you become unstoppable. Because what can the world throw at a man whose mind cannot be shaken? They threw rejection at Disney. They threw bankruptcy at Henry Ford. They threw defeat, disgrace, and doubt at Lincoln. But these men, they didn't flinch, because they were led by something the world could not touch: a controlled, commanding mind. You see, it is not just about thinking big. It's about training your thinking. And training means resistance. Training means repetition. Training means effort when your feelings beg for comfort. Control is forged in fire. It is earned in silence. It is practiced when no one is watching. Every morning you wake up, you are given the keys to your kingdom. You either hand them over to your emotions, or you take the throne yourself. You choose your thoughts, or your thoughts choose you. And here's the reality: whatever dominates the mind directs the life. Think fear, and you'll find every reason to freeze. Think strength, and you'll see doors where others see walls. The man who disciplines his thoughts is not blind to reality. He creates it. This is the power of clarity, because when the mind is clear, the path becomes obvious. Clarity doesn't come from chaos. It comes from stillness. And stillness only arrives through mental control. You have to decide what matters. You have to choose what to focus on. And then, eliminate everything else. Most people are not failing because they lack talent. They are failing because they lack focus. They have scattered minds and wonder why they have scattered results. But not you. Not anymore. You were not born to drift. You were born to direct. You were not born to chase everything. You were born to channel your energy with laser precision. That is the hallmark of every high performer. They don't do more. They master the mental lens of focus. When your mind is aligned with your purpose, distractions disappear. Doubt dissolves. Noise becomes silence, and your life begins to move. Control the mind, and you begin to control your reality. But belief, that is the engine behind it all. And that is where we go next. Because belief is not a wish. It is not hope dressed up in pretty words. Belief is a decision, a contract you sign with your future, in blood, in effort, in unshakable conviction. No man ever built something great without first seeing it in the unseen. Walt Disney was fired for lacking imagination. Ford was told the gasoline engine was foolish. The Wright brothers were mocked as lunatics, but they didn't ask for permission to believe. They didn't beg the world to understand them. They saw what others couldn't, because their minds were owned, not rented. You cannot borrow belief. You cannot fake it. You must build it. With sweat, with sacrifice, with silence. Every day you do the work. When no one believes, no one claps, no one sees, you are feeding your faith. You are proving to your own mind that you mean it. And once your mind knows you're serious, it begins to bend reality to match the image you hold. That's the truth they never teach you in school. That the world doesn't shape your mind. Your mind shapes the world. It always has. Every skyscraper was once a sketch. Every revolution started as a whisper. Every fortune began with a vision that the world called impossible. Until it wasn't. So if you want to control the world around you, you start by commanding the world within you. But vision without clarity is chaos. You can dream all day, but if the image is blurry, the path will be too. This is where most people fall. They have ambition, but not alignment. They want change, but haven't defined it. You can't hit a target you haven't identified. Clarity is power. Clarity is purpose in high definition. And when your purpose is clear, discipline stops being painful and starts becoming automatic. Why? Because you're no longer chasing motivation. You're led by vision. You're pulled by something bigger than comfort. Most people are trying to push themselves through life. The great ones are pulled by a mission that refuses to let them sleep. And that mission? It begins with asking the hard questions. Who are you, really? What were you born to do? What would you give your life to if fear wasn't in the room? Don't answer quickly. Sit with it. Because the deeper your purpose, the greater your power. Once you lock onto that purpose, every excuse begins to die. Every fear starts to shrink, and every distraction becomes irrelevant. It's not that life gets easier, it's that you get stronger, because a mind led by purpose is a mind immune to mediocrity. This is what separates the average from the unstoppable. The average man waits for conditions. The great man creates conditions by aligning thought, belief, and action with vision. He doesn't need the world to say yes. He says yes to himself, and then proves it through action. And action. That's the bridge between the inner and outer world. You cannot just think your way to greatness. You must act your way into it. But here's where the mind still matters. Because your thoughts don't just inspire action, they determine its quality. A focused mind leads to deliberate action. A scattered mind leads to wasted effort. So you train your mind, not just to think right, but to act right, to make moves that count, to stay locked in when others drift, to pursue mastery, not just motion. That's the game. And it starts when you stop being a slave to impulse and start becoming a general of intention. That is self-leadership. And without it, no external success can last. because empires fall from within. And the same goes for men. So build yourself into something unshakable. That means discipline, the ability to tell your feelings no, and your goals yes, every single day. Discipline is the proof that you are in control. It is the art of doing what needs to be done, even when your emotions beg you to quit. And every time you choose discipline, your mind gets stronger, your power grows, and the world bends just a little more to your will. Control the mind, and you don't just control the world, you create it. But no matter how strong your mind becomes, the world will test it. Not once, not twice, endlessly. Adversity is not the enemy, it is the gatekeeper. And every person who has ever done something extraordinary had to face a moment when the world said, "This is where you stop." And they said back, "This is where I begin." Abraham Lincoln lost 8 elections before becoming president. Thomas Edison failed 10,000 times before lighting the world. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison and came out unbroken, unbitter, and unstoppable. Because greatness isn't born in comfort, it's forged in the fire. And fire doesn't burn the disciplined, it refines them. If your mind is weak, adversity will break you. But if your mind is trained, it will build you. Resilience is not about avoiding the storm. It's about becoming the storm. It's about standing in the middle of chaos and knowing exactly who you are. Unshaken, unchanged, unstoppable. But that kind of strength doesn't come from theory. It comes from struggle. Real power is earned in the dark. When you're tired, but you train anyway. When you're doubted, but you show up anyway. When you're afraid, but you take the step anyway. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you add another brick to the foundation of your inner fortress. And here's what the weak never understand. Struggle is not a signal to quit. It's a signal that you're on the path. The moment it gets hard, that's your invitation. That's the test that separates the talkers from the doers, the wishers from the warriors, and the mind, it adapts. That's the miracle of it. The same mind that once ran from discomfort can be trained to crave it, because on the other side of discomfort is growth. And on the other side of growth is power. So adapt. Don't break. Don't freeze. Move. When the plan fails, adapt. When they betray you, adapt. When life knocks you down, adapt. Because adaptation isn't weakness, it's wisdom. The tree that doesn't bend with the wind, it breaks. But the mind that adapts becomes invincible. Think of every great innovator, every legend, every master. They weren't just tough, they were fluid. They studied the terrain, felt the pressure, and adjusted their strategy without ever abandoning the mission. Resilient in spirit, ruthless in execution, adaptable in mind. You want to control the world? Then you must become like water, soft enough to flow around obstacles, strong enough to carve through stone. But there's a secret to all of this. A foundation beneath belief, discipline, and resilience. And that is learning. Because the mind you have today is not the mind you need tomorrow. You cannot reach new levels with old thinking. You must evolve. And evolution demands humility, the willingness to say, "I don't know enough yet." The courage to ask, "How can I grow?" The discipline to study, to observe, to learn, daily. Not once, not occasionally, relentlessly. The world belongs to the student-minded, the ones who treat every win as feedback, every loss as fuel, every moment as a lesson. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be teachable, because every piece of knowledge you absorb becomes another weapon in your arsenal, another layer to your mindset, another lever of control. And the more you know, the more you can control. Of yourself, of your time, of your future. You are not here to coast. You are not here to be average. You are here to master yourself, to lead the mind, shape the spirit, and command your world with intelligence. Because without wisdom, power is reckless. Without learning, success is temporary. But with both, you become inevitable. There comes a point in the journey when the noise fades, when the doubts dissolve, when the war inside your mind quiets, and something deeper awakens. It's not hype, it's not adrenaline, it's presence, a stillness so powerful it doesn't need to shout, it just is. And in that presence, you realize something, that the world was never outside of you, it was always within. Because when you control the mind, you don't just control your reactions, you shape your reality. You see what others miss. You act when others freeze. You persist when others fold. You don't chase the world. You create it. Mastery is not about having more. It's about needing less. Less validation. Less distraction. Less noise. Because a disciplined mind no longer runs from silence. It thrives in it. It listens to the whisper of purpose. While the world screams confusion, it moves with intention. While the world spins in chaos. And that's the real power. Not force, not control over others, but sovereignty over self. That is the rarest kind of strength, the kind that can't be taken, only earned. And how do you earn it? You rise when it's hard. You focus when it's boring. You speak truth when it's dangerous. You act with purpose when no one is watching. You don't wait for the world to give you permission. You claim your place with conviction. You lead yourself, because the greatest leaders in history were first and foremost leaders of self. They mastered their mornings. They mastered their habits. They mastered their reactions. They mastered their thoughts. And in doing so, they mastered their fate. That is not philosophy. That is physics of the spirit. Thoughts become words. Words become actions. Actions become identity. Identity becomes destiny. Control the thought, and you bend the trajectory. Control the mind, and you write the outcome. The greatest lie ever told is that your circumstances define you. They do not. Your mindset defines you. Your choices define you. Your response defines you. Because no matter how brutal the storm, you still choose whether to crawl, walk, or fly. No matter how dark the night, you still choose whether to ignite the fire within. And that fire? It's already there, waiting. It's in the man who refuses to give up, in the woman who rises from the ashes, in the child who dreams bigger than the cage they were born in. It's in you, right now, but it doesn't awaken on its own. It must be summoned, with clarity, with commitment, with courage. You must decide. Decide that from this moment forward, your mind is not a battlefield, it is your kingdom. And in that kingdom, there is only one ruler. Not fear, not doubt. You. You write the laws. You set the standard. You choose the vision. You enforce the discipline. Because if you don't rule your mind, something else will. And when you hand over your mind to the world, you hand over your power. So reclaim it. Take it back. Lock it in. Burn the boats. There is no return to the old you. There is only rise. Not someday, not next year. Now, this is your moment. Not just to wake up, but to rise up. To claim the mind as yours. To use it as your sword and your shield. To become the architect of your reality. And the author of your destiny. The world will not hand you the throne. You must build it. You must earn it. Through silence, through struggle, through strategy, through fire. Because when the mind is conquered, there is nothing that cannot be done. Control the mind. And you control your emotions. Control the emotions. And you control your actions. Control the actions. And you control your results. Control your results. And you control your life. And when you control your life, you control the world.